Welcome to Running on Ice, the coolest community in freight. I'm your host, Mary O'Connell, bringing you the latest tech updates, warehouse news, and everything happening in the cold chain world. Not only is there the coolest show in freight, but there's also Running on Ice, the newsletter that could not be colder. You can subscribe to that on freightwaves.com/runningonIce. Today, we welcome back Travis Ross, Senior Sales Engineer at eRoad. Welcome back to the show, Travis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. As always, it's a pleasure to see you, Mary.
I'm excited for this today. I think this is like 2 years in a row, or like 2 winters in a row. We've pretty much rounded out the year with eRoad, and I'm kind of excited about this. I feel like it's a tradition at this point in time.
Thank you. Let's keep it as one.
So that being said, last month, for those who might not have paid attention, unfortunately, you can just pause this episode and go back and watch it. Anyway, but for a quick little recap for those who don't have time to watch 2 episodes today, we chatted about kind of, seeing those ROI and different things that come with that telematics on your reefer units, and really just kind of putting the emphasis on, that savings and kind of the implementation of new technology. And so now we have to switch into something a little more. Let's dive a little bit deeper. So everyone everyone promises, oh, I'm the solution to all your problems. I'm all of these solutions. We're going to solve all of your problems, right? But eRoad is different, allegedly. So what makes you guys different? What makes you guys actually mean we are going to solve all your problems?
You got it. Thanks for asking that question, Mary. What's different about eRoad and what's different about today is, part one that our session last month was great. Look, we were able to explain verbally how operations can recognize those exceptions that are kicking them in the shins on the daily without them knowing about it. But you heard me blathering on and on and on, and it was all talk. So today, you're going to see visually exactly how this is done in seconds per day in the easiest possible way, rather than just hearing me talk through it. I'm excited to show you.
I'm excited for that because as it's something that is ridiculous that's stuck into my head, but I'm sure we all have something courtesy of our teachers growing up that, is the reason you have a weird way about you. But I had a history teacher that said, I'm from the show me state, so you need to show me. So I love that we're getting into that today because I'm from the show me state and you have to show me.
Gonna do it. Can't wait.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. It's just every time I see I hear show not tell, I just think of I'm from the show me state. So
Like tie-in.
way to go, high school history teacher. So jumping back into the cold chain side of things, so let's just dive right in. These exceptions. So it's something that everyone has to deal with, right? Everybody has something that falls out of temperature, something that just doesn't go right because, it's supply chain. So heaven forbid everything go 100% correct all of the time. So kind of show us how these exceptions work. Is it something you have to go hunt for? Is it something right on your home screen? What does that look like if I'm looking to find out my problem children?
Mary, what we're looking at now is the easiest reporting structure possible to understand what might be going on in anyone's given day. If you're an operator, you're going to sign into this application called CoreTemp. But before I get too far into it, let me explain. What the backbone is for CoreTemp is scoring. It means everything, and we don't make it overly complicated. To score on a route, it's a 1.0, and it's broken up into 2 factors. One is data. Do you even get the data through your telematics? And the second part of the score is temperature compliance. That's it. So if you're taking your eyes over to the right, you see the circle over there under for total score. A lot of carriers and shippers will establish a total score for cold chain compliance as 95%, stating, hey, 95% of the time throughout the year, we're going to be able to run within our established FSQA thresholds. That's great. Now, what feeds into that total score over to the left is route coverage. Route coverage means data. Did you even get data or not? If you didn't get data, then you need to call eRoad and let them know. It holds us accountable to make sure that your stuff works. If you didn't get data, it's a fat zero on that on that particular route. If you did get data and you didn't score well on your temperature, then it breaks it up. You either get a 75% or just a 50%. So just want to clearly explain that scoring is the backbone and it's easy to look at. Now, the next thing you do, once you sign in, Mary, I'm going to pretend that you're the transportation manager signing in. You jump right over the facility report and you say, hey, I'm at 94% there and I've got route coverage of 98%. Something's missing. Well, the system is set up for you to go right to left. You'd go right over to the left side to the weekly report and the daily. And that bottom box that you're looking at way over to the left, you'll see that we have Thursday is September circled. And you can see that route coverage is not 100% for that day. So it calls it out right away. What is wrong with route coverage for that day? And you can see way over to the right of your total score is in the 80s. So that particular day, you have now just established in less than 30 seconds is the problem.
That is really easy to see and, like, really it's like the thing that I love and hate about a dashboard is that sometimes a simple one is chef's kiss. It is perfect. I love to see it. It makes things so much easier. It makes things so much better. But then you have the dashboard that, like, don't get me wrong, I love a customized dashboard, but sometimes we are our own worst enemy where we wanna customize everything and then suddenly we have everything and it's just horrible to look at. I like this because it's very simple, it breaks it down, and I'm willing to bet that if I wanted to click on that Thursday and figure out why I only had, like, a 98% coverage or 90% coverage,
Mhm.
I could definitely, like, I could figure out where that coverage was missing, and I like that it's just really easy for me to go and also as a operations side, if I know that that was maybe yesterday or the day before and I have that one that's missing coverage, it lets me call and get ahead of it, and then that way I know if I need to get claims involved earlier because if a reefer unit wasn't on or if there was a possibility it fell outside of temperature, I can be a little bit more proactive and maybe even, depending on how long it's in transit, I could even notify the warehouse or the receiver and say, "Hey, when this comes, pull it, temp it, because we have to investigate it."
Exactly. And it is so time consuming to have to dive into a lot of scheduled reports that are coming your way. And that's all great data. But speaking from experience as an operator, I did not have time for that. And most folks will use a telematics platform in a reactive way. Where we want to get them to use this in a way that they're catching stuff before it actually happens. Or what has just happened is so easy to find that they can now institute that change quite quickly across their operation.
Yeah, because I mean, it's the sheer nature of doing business. You're always gonna have that one reefer that just breaks in a shipment. It just breaks. No matter how much you try to plan for it, it's gonna happen. But knowing that you're rolling up to a receiver with a broken reefer, and then you get that temperature immediately, like before it even goes into a warehouse or before it gets past like the threshold of the loading area or unloading area, to be able to kind of work proactively with that, and so that way, I mean, I feel like that really just kind of, like, helps everything further down that process, whether or not you have to submit a claim or a partial claim, or you just throw it in the last trailer really quick and we're good to go. I feel like that really makes it easier further down the line when you are a little bit more, proactive about things.
Absolutely, Mary. I'm going to show you even further how you can drill down and see what is the problem for that particular Thursday. Can't wait.
Even further, it's like you read my
Yes.
mind. I love it. All right, so let's dive into it. You said that we can get more specific and more custom on it. What does that look like? What do we do? Because everybody claims they have this reporting system, but I want to know what's behind all those numbers. And we see the 90%. So let's get into it, Travis. How do we know where the problems are?
Here we go. Mary, here's what we're looking at. We have now drilled into that particular day, wondering now why did we not get data on that? What could be the problem? So we're looking at a couple things here. This is a drill down into a route monitored by core temp. A couple things to call out. There in the middle is a green dotted line. Those green dots represent set point. That represents reefer all. Now, the blue line that's shooting up represents return air. So you would see those in your deliveries. Now, the lines at the top and the lines at the bottom, the red and the blue, they're all your high end and low end thresholds that are completely customizable for the customer. Whatever their quality thresholds are, they dictate that. But there's something significant I want to call out. The absence of the green dotted lines in that particular route. Now, that tells me the reefer unit is off during the route. And a lot of people would think, no, there's just no way. There's no way that a reefer unit is going to be turned off during the entire route. But let's just go a little bit further. You drill down even more, and the picture below illustrates, if you look at the two circles in between the blue bars, those represent the reefer unit being turned off during the route. Above that that's your GPS movement. So each one of those blanks in between the green line represents a stop. What you're looking at, Mary, is about, I think, 10 to 12 stops being delivered on that route with the reefer unit completely off. Now, you can see in the middle, around about, I think that's maybe 10 o'clock at night, that the driver might have had a little oopsie, and he or she turned the reefer back on for a little while longer, and then it switched off again. So we're illustrating, and we know, and we have to be honest with ourselves sometimes, we know this happens out there in the industry. The beauty of core temp is that it lets you know when it happens. You would know this happened because this route would have scored a 0. We have rules written in place that a route is turned off for more than 2 hours in a route duration, you get a 0 on that route. So immediately that operator is calling that up, looking at it, having a conversation with the team, and it changes behaviors incredibly fast. And again, this is one of those exceptions. You would have had no idea that this ever took place, but what risk it is, right?
That is, first of all, it's not surprising given the sheer amount of times that people have been like, hey, like as a broker or a dispatcher, you have to be like, hey, you have to set your reefer to continuous, meaning it goes all the time. And the fact that that's just a common reminder tells you how often something like this happens. But you're right. If we didn't know, if we didn't have this data, we would show up just assuming because it was on for like what, the last hour. And so we would just show up and they would say like, "Oh yeah, okay." And they could just accept that product without doing any like additional quality tests on it. Which, if it's something like a can of Pepsi, it's going to mostly be fine. But if it's a pharmaceutical equipment or life-saving medicine or even certain foods, that's not going to be good.
No, it's not, Mary. And I remember when this was first presented to me many years ago. I was a customer at that time. That my initial thought was, there is no way I'm going to have time to look at all of my routes and see that we recognize that. And this is the reason that we design core temp this way. We know you don't have time. So we're going to present those to you because they're scored, because you received a 0 that's going to catch your attention. And imagine, I've used this analogy before. You have a conversation with the driver over findings on this, and they do communicate faster than social media. You do not have to dive into every single route within your operation. Nobody has time to do this. So we're very proud of how we present the data and make it actionable and easy to find.
Well, yeah, because you don't need, in theory, you don't need you don't need to go in and monitor and babysit a load that's running completely fine. You don't need that. You need it for those exceptions because those exceptions are, where the damage is done. Because when it delivers completely fine with no problems, congratulations, it did what it was supposed to do. Um, but for the rest of them, knowing that, and I feel like also if I was continuously like, okay, I have this shipment and I said, hey, we need to work on our reefer settings for the next shipment. And then if I have a partner that just can't quite get it after a lot of calls, I feel like that's a pretty easy way to have that data to say, like, I don't know that we should continue this partnership if you can't, hold up your end of things.
You got it. And Mary, what we just went over was an operational issue around equipment and potential driver behavior. But I'm excited next to talk to you about temperatures, how to catch those.
Yes, the all important temperatures. I had some experience of this moving beer kegs,
Mm.
and they care a lot about temperatures, specifically if they're outside of a range within 6 hours. Once it exceeds 6 hours, that's when it starts to get a little dicey, and you gotta start temping some things. So, Travis, get into it. What if we want to monitor some temperatures? What does that look like?
So, Mary, let's talk about temperatures now. We already went over how to call out those nuances of a reefer unit being off during the entire route that you never would have known about before. But now, what about when temperatures are too warm on the product that you're trying to monitor? So, what we're looking at here is a route and core temp in that top box where the shaded box over there, they're red, right? The high end threshold is 41 in the chill compartment and it's 10 degrees in the frozen, indicating it ended the route at 41 and 13 in the frozen. So just slightly over. Not a huge deal. I think we're all eating that sandwich that's 13 degrees rather than 10, but still problematic. So there's a couple things we're looking at here. Again, when I called out before, that green dotted line in that box, that's your set point. So you're looking at a set point of -10. Now the algorithm is set, and the goal for that temperature or that product is 0 degrees. So there it kind of calls out, all right, we're doing a set point of -15 on a desire of 0 degrees. That's probably a little excessive on the reefer. That's okay. -10 would have probably been fine. So we're probably burning less gas, but that's not what I'm trying to call out here. What I want to show is look at the difference between the green dotted line, which is your reefer set point, and then the blue line, which jumps up and down. Those are your deliveries. That's your return air. And then that red dotted line in the middle, that's the algorithm. So what we're looking at is a discrepancy between the green dotted line and the return air. This is an unhealthy trailer. This is a trailer where the return air is not matching your set point every single time that it goes out. This one, per the red boxes above, you got data, so you got your participation trophy. Congratulations, you scored a 50 on this route. But since both compartments were too warm, you only scored a 50. You did not get a 75 or a 100. So this has now called out a temperature compliance issue that you really would have had no idea. And this particular trailer is doing it to you every single day, right under your nose without you knowing. But now you know because Core Temp scored it.
I think that is probably one of the most important tools because, like you said, how this trailer's performing. And okay, so if it goes out on one load and it has a problem, okay, no big deal. I'm just going to bring it in, service it, kick it back out. But continuing to see it means that, like, oh, there's a bigger problem than just a quick little service. And if I saw this continuously with one specific trailer or one specific piece of equipment, I would pull that sucker out of service so fast and be like, "You're not going out again until we figure out what's going on."
Yeah, and a lot of people well, they'll take that action, but sometimes it doesn't even need to go that far. A lot of times with these, what I experienced was, gosh, that's probably just plastic shrink wrap that's been sucked up under the bulkhead shield in the front of the trailer, causing poor airflow. And once you clean it out, that you've just managed that exception right out of your operation, potentially without having to deadline a trailer or bringing it early. Just take a little look. And again, you wouldn't know that unless it was scored. So we're quite proud of that.
That is, that's actually really smart because if I have, warehouses all over the country and I see this, I can say, all right, well, it's in warehouse 2. So someone from warehouse 2, can you just hop up in this trailer and take a look and see what's in there? And that's a lot easier fix than, okay, well, I need to bring it to a service location and try to figure it out.
So, Mary, what we've talked thoroughly on how to recognize when a unit's been turned off the entire time, when they become too warm, and why it might have become too warm. But we actually have a little bit more drill down capability to show you some other operational nuance.
You know what I'm gonna say, Travis? Show me.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into this one too. All right, Mary, we're looking at a deeper drill down onto this particular route. And one other thing I want to show you. Now, what we illustrated before, that there's a discrepancy between the set point and healthy return air, how to call that out. Now we've looked at this particular playback on the trailer. We want to see the data. And what I want to call out there is if I've got a red box around those gray lines in the middle of that playback. And if folks can see it out there, if they take their eyes over to the right side, those are defrost events. It's listed in gray. So during that particular route, you have 4 defrost events during one single route. Now, unless they've set something different up with the OEMs when they get their trailers, it's typically every 6 hours is a defrost event. You can't configure that differently. Some people do. I never did. But 6 defrost events and a route duration, this particular trailer, as indicated by the graph above that we showed just a minute ago, is going to cause you a problem every single time it goes out. And 9 times out of 10, Mary, this is likely going to be trash up in the behind the shield and easily solved by cleaning it out. Now, the one below, where I've got the red box around some defrost events and also around some red shaded lines down there in compartment 2, I want to explain that. Those red shaded lines mean that the compartment 2 is in high-speed heat mode. And you can see that over on the right. It literally says high-speed heat mode. Now, in that second box, if you'll take your eyes up to the right, you can see that solid blue line across where the reefer unit has actually been switched on about 6:15 in the morning. It doesn't move as indicated by the green line above it. It does not leave the yard until after 11 o'clock. So it's been running, likely pre-cooling, for over 5 hours, which is excessive, right? That's a lot of fuel burn. A lot of people focus on tractor fuel burn. We like to also focus on reefer fuel burn. But what we want to call out with this particular image is that we know that bulkhead between compartment 1 and compartment 2 the entire time of pre-cool, preload is down, because compartment 2 is in high-speed heat mode, fighting off all that cold air from compartment 1. And so you're doing a couple things. You're fast tracking that reefer unit into a into a service program. Like you're running it like a horse. But also, this particular route would have had a failure score in core temp. They would have gotten data, so they would have gotten a 50. But actually, the results are it started out too cold. The algorithm would have pulled down, pulled down, pulled down. And the results are you're actually below your threshold. So you could have frozen up some product if you had it on there. And again, going back to it, you would not know that this behavior has taken place on your yard had it not been for core temp scoring it.
I think I really like this aspect because it kind of, like you said, it gives you just the insight of what's going on, because otherwise you wouldn't know. And I feel like it really cuts down your liability of risk or of damages or anything that could go wrong, because you're getting stronger insights into things. And like you said, you can be very proactive instead of reactionary. And I like that. I do. I really do like that.
Thank you, Mary. I'm so glad.
All right, so we've touched on kind of how to find these events and know what's happening and manage the exceptions. But what do I do once I have them? Obviously, if I see something that's freezing or if I'm not capturing loads, I can call and make that. I can just literally pick up the phone and call somebody. But what kind of, like, is there like a paper trail I leave so that way we are not all calling on the same shipments? What does that look like?
What I'd like to show you now, Mary, is the folks that often kind of get forgotten about a little bit here with this awesome platform called CoreTemp. Look, we've gone over how your transportation managers can see stuff, what all the operational things. But what about the folks in quality, FSQA? This is really huge piece for them. So, Mary, you are now an FDA auditor, and you have come into my distribution center, and it's time for an audit time. Silica or whoever you might work for is auditor. Okay, we want to make them happy too. We now give customers the ability to add feedback to particular deliveries, and it is indefinite. They can go back for years and years and years and pull up this route and add feedback. The route you're looking at now, it's something that we kind of showed before. You see your green dotted line is your set point. You see the algorithm is the red dotted line kind of driving up a little bit. And you're also seeing a return error not reflected against the set point. So again, another unhealthy reaper unit. Now, customers can click that add feedback button, go in and add a root cause analysis. They can add a picture, they can add files, they can do all the things they want to do and keep that documentation. So no more running to file cabinets, trying to find delivery logs. And if you show, again, speaking from experience on this, you show an auditor the capability that they come in, Mary, you're saying, I want trailer 1, 2, 3 for dates 4, 5, 6. Actually, that's not a date. I could have been there for May 12th. For May 12th. Pull this route instance and show me what your feedback or the findings on it. When customers can share this type of result with an auditor, they are looking at other issues. They're not diving into their cold chain compliance. This is taking things to another level, and it's so easy to do. You can call all this history up and add these actions after the fact. It does not need to be done at every particular route. A beautiful thing, Mary.
As much as I hate auditors, it's my former time as in finance and accounting.
Mm,
So no shade to auditors. It's just I'm not the biggest fan.
I got a
But
job. Yeah.
that being said, this is kind of game changing because for the most part, like you can just get people what they want and you're not sitting there going like, okay, well, let me go find this email on this date and go and do it and all of that. It's literally all right there. So you can just be like, here you go, this is all you need to do. Carry on with your lives. Which I feel like also from an auditor's perspective, it has to be really nice just to have all that at your fingertips.
Absolutely. Takes the fear out of audit, saves all that time. It's a
I
good thing.
Except that one, like, because there's always gonna be that one that they find in an audit that someone didn't save their changes, and they're gonna be like, "Nah." But that's okay to have, like, one of those versus, like, all of them.
Correct.
Because
And Mary, we have set it up in a way where it's all right if somebody forgot to save those changes. They can go back and call up that historical route no matter how many years old. We've done this with a 4-year-old route where somebody needed to go find something and add some corrective actions to it, and it was quite nice.
I love it, because then they can just add it and it's there and everybody's happy. So, Travis, we are coming to the end of our time together today, and we know where you stand on quite a few different questions. So today, I thought I'd switch it up and see if you could make a house out of any food. What would it be?
I like that one. Okay, well, on the heels of Thanksgiving, my responsibility is the baked macaroni and cheese. All right.
Oh,
It's phenomenal. It's Granny's recipe, except I've tweaked it. It is fantastic. So my obvious answer is going to be mac and cheese because you imagine you bake the macaroni and cheese, you chill
mhm,
it, you build that's your walls of your house, right?
uh-huh.
But if you just say broad spectrum macaroni and cheese, a house made out of macaroni and cheese, you could, if you're just hungry, you just go munch on the wall a little bit. Even the Kraft Mac has value. It all has value.
I think you could
Macaroni and
have,
cheese
like
has all of it.
I think you could have, like a different macaroni and cheese flavor for each room, so that way you could just, like, walk around and be like, "Okay, I want white cheddar mac today." Or you could be like, a little bit
Yeah.
of white cheddar, a little bit of, like, orange cheddar, and then a little bit of, like, baked mac all
Mm.
mixed up.
A little Gouda,
Get
maybe some
some with some
lobster mac.
lobster mac
Ugh.
and cheese in there
Oh,
too.
yeah. We're
This is
thinking
very
the same
interesting.
thing.
Alright, so if anyone has any ideas for a house of mac and cheese, or if they, wanna know more about what you've showed us literally today, what can they find you outside the show?
Oh, well, that's easy. That's travis.ross@erode.com. They can find me on the eRoad website as well on LinkedIn. Gosh, they could even call me at 803-608-3728 if we wanted to talk. I love talking about this stuff. Oh, and hey, I've got an exceptional TikTok account. But hey, that's a whole nother thing. That's sick dance moves and nothing to do with cold chain. Lots of ways to
Alright,
find me.
thank you so much for joining us today.
You're quite welcome, Mary. Bye bye.
You can catch other episodes of Running on Ice right here on FreightWaves TV, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts like Apple Podcast and Spotify. Need more Running on Ice news? No sweat. Subscribe to the newsletter on freightwaves.com/runningonIce. See you on the internet.